Hey, what's up, everybody? It's me, Ronald Santana, Raccon Fighter here. And if you're here for it, I'm here for it. It's the Fighter Podcast. And today's guest, I got Blake on the show. Welcome, Blake, to the show. I appreciate you having taken the time out to come be on this show. So, how's your day going so far, man?
Doing all right. Just kind of got the kiddos to bed. Got a little dry fire in today. Housework type stuff. So, doing pretty good. Regular day. How about you?
Uh, that's good. I've been doing good, man. I've been working all day, taking care of stuff or whatever here on the social media platform, and just doing my regular job, man.
Yeah,
So,
I
quick
feel it.
question. Tell everybody where you're from.
I'm from Lander, Wyoming. I've been here in Bismarck, North Dakota for 11 or 12 years now.
Oh wow, how you like it so far?
Man, I moved out of Wyoming because I thought I wanted to change scenery, and I moved somewhere flatter with slightly worse winters and very similar. I should have gone south. It ain't too bad though. There's a lot of good people here.
That's good, man. That's good. So, man, let's get into some of the stuff that that everybody in the 2A community love hearing about. How'd you get into shooting?
Um, I have a twin brother. When my brother and I were young, my both my grandfathers on my mom and dad's side, and my uncle and my dad and his friends, they were all into shooting in some capacity. Some were veterans, some were big hunters, and we kind of just cultivated a love for it as I bet we got a Daisy BB gun when we were 6 or 7. Our first Ruger 1022s, the first guns we ever got, probably 8 or 9. I mean, so we've been shooting since we were probably 6 years old, and
Oh wow,
it was supported by a lot of members of our family. Like they would take us to do it. It's all we ever wanted to do as kids.
yeah. Hey, trust me, I know because I love shooting. I mean, growing up down south, whatever, that's what we did. We just found out someplace in the woods, out in a bayou, we carved out, and we just started just shooting days in and days out and stuff until we didn't have no more ammo. So how did you fall into the whole with your whole family? Because there seems like there some are military hunters and policemen and stuff. I mean, how did you fall into that category with amongst all your elders in your family?
Um, Career path wise, later down the road, you mean, or
Yeah.
so I got a job with the Department of Corrections up here, probably about 11 years ago. Um, Through that, I was able to get some good experience, get a lot of decent training. I got to be on a team there and do some decent training there. And then I got to be a firearms instructor there. I got to go train with some really good guys. I met some of the guys that I work with now back then when I went through instructor schools. So it was a really good place to get some experience and get some good training in.
Oh wow, man. So how did the whole competition shooting? How'd you get into that?
Um, a lot of us, well, not a lot of us. The group started with about 4 guys that were buddies, and there's not a whole lot offered around here for competition shooting. There's one place that does USPSA in town, and we're a town of about 100,000 people, Bismarck and Mandan together, and they're pretty much the same town. And there just was not a lot going on. There's one small, uh, well, we're all pretty small, but one range doing USPSA, one range doing kind of an outlaw IDP8 style match, and that was pretty much it. And we wanted to provide something to the community that was a little bit more welcoming to everyone and a little more fun while still being valuable practice or training, whether you're doing defensive type shooting or whether you're just getting into the world of competition.
Wow, that's awesome. And like you said, the outlaw shooting, like is it like a division?
It's not necessarily a division. So outlaw matches, you'll find them all over. Outlaw matches are basically we use PCSL scoring or USPSA scoring, but we're not officially affiliated or members of either of those organizations. So we use their
Okay.
targets, we use their scoring system, but we're not paid members of that big national organization.
Okay. That's that makes a lot of sense. I mean, in case some of the viewers don't know what that is, now you know. So, as far as like competition shooting, how does it translate to like real life scenarios in case of like self defense situations and stuff like that?
What I think a lot of the benefit you can get from it is developing your shooting skill to a high level. Um, I think just focusing on developing your skills beyond what the basic fundamentals are, get fast and accurate, learn how to move, from point A to point B efficiently, get that gun up as soon as you get into that position, learn how to do those things safely. That's a huge part of competition shooting anywhere, doing those things safely. Safety is probably one of the biggest ways to get DQ'd if you're violating safety rules. And it'll get you doing things that you would never do on like a normal flat range or like a laned range. Um, I'm not when I do classes, I'm not a big fan of building a whole backstory to training scenarios or shooting stages, if that makes sense. Like
Yeah.
there's not like a whole preamble to the stage. The targets are here. You engage them as you see fit. I'm not a force on force instructor or a tactics instructor. I will help you develop your shooting skills to as far as I can, and then we have some resources to get you further once you're past the point where I can really teach you much, right?
Okay.
Um, but I want you to develop your shooting skills to the highest level possible, and then you can learn tactics and where to apply it from somebody whose area of expertise that is. But
Okay.
um, if you can't demonstrate good accuracy under the simulated pressure of a shot timer and a shooting stage, expecting that you're going to perform any better than that during a much more stressful scenario is probably not how it's going to work out. So there's a
Wow.
lot of benefit to practical shooting.
Yeah, I see your point because I mean it's reality that kicks in when you're in a real life scenario compared to like practicing.
Yeah.
And I think it's important that people realize that.
Hmm.
So,
And even if you'll, oh, sorry, one more thing.
uh,
When you get, if you've never shot in a competition, simulated stress is something that a lot of different training techniques try to get in there with you, right? So you can shoot under a little bit of stress. If you've never shot on the clock with 20, 30 people watching you, it can be a little stressful. It's good for you.
yeah, that was my next question. I was just like, man, I wanted to know how does that like articulate when you're shooting in competition in front of people? Like, is it like its intensity jumps up more, or like, what is it? So I mean,
Yeah.
but you answered the question already for me.
And
So,
and especially like for us that have done it a lot and done a lot of different training and have a lot of experience, it does get easier. The stress part of it, like it's kind of what you would call stress inoculation. They do some similar type defensive training, but you get used to performing under that stress. So we try to, the few of us that are usually in the probably top quarter of the scoring, we'll have people almost shoot against each other in those groups. So those of us that are in the top quarter of it will have little wagers and do a little smack talking and, get the stakes back up for everybody a little bit.
that's a healthy thing, a healthy competition. Ain't nothing wrong with that, man.
And that's the big thing too. We're all out there to have fun. We're not giving out national titles, so we're all out there to help everybody learn and get better and have a good time. Like
See, that's what it
I
needs to
think
be
that is
about.
an
Like,
environment that people learn a lot more.
that's what it needs to be about, man. Right there, just like good, healthy competition, showing people how to manage themselves during stress and just safety. Those things are important. I think that's
Hmm.
great. But here's my next question for you. What is your competition setup? What is that like?
trying to think if I have my bag sitting out here somewhere. So my buddy Matthew, one of the co-owners of Frontier, would call us the Tactical Timmies. So we got kind of two schools of guys. Alex and I are the other two owners. We have a more traditional tactical style belt or battle belt or whatever they call it, war belt. They call them all kinds of things. But let me grab it here for you.
No, yeah, go ahead, man.
Here we are. So I run a Faro Concepts bison belt. They're a little bit spendy. You don't need to buy something crazy fancy. What you really need for convenience, especially competition belt or tactical belt, is you want a two-piece belt that's going to have this piece, the big piece that all your stuff goes on. There'll be a hook Velcro on the inside, and then it'll have an inner belt that's going to go through your belt loops. That'll be the loop Velcro on the outside. So when I put this on, I throw it over that Velcro, and it stays. So it doesn't do that
Okay.
rocking up and down stuff while you're running around. It's really helpful. Double Alpha Academy makes a great one for competition shooting. There's a whole lot of other companies too. I'm just going off the top of my head. Battle belts, there's a bunch of companies too. Faro Concepts makes great stuff. High Speed Gear. My buddy Eric is sponsored by Warhorse Ordnance. They make a lot of good stuff, and they make stuff that's a little more custom sized. So my girlfriend, for example, is a tiny little thing. I mean, like her waist is not much bigger than one of my thighs, itty bitty. So, yeah. And then we have some shooters with us that start when they're pretty young. One of our students started when he was about 14. He's about to turn 16 now. So finding belts for people like that can be a challenge. They don't typically make this kind of stuff for children. So
Yeah.
Warhorse Ordnance was a cool place to find because you can all right, I need like an ant-sized belt, and they'll make it for you.
That's dope, man. So one other question is like, what is the hardest thing you have to overcome when you're competing? Like, as far as like when you're shooting in close knit competition and stuff, whatever. What is the hardest thing to overcome? Is like in case you do mess up and stuff like that. How do you overcome that and compensate for that?
Uh, so one of the really cool things about our competitions is that everyone that shoots with us, that's been with us the last couple of years, has grown exponentially. And that's probably one of the most rewarding things for me is watching everybody go from really hesitant, kind of taking things slow to guys just burning stuff down. So it used to be when we started this that my buddy Matt and I and our other friend James from Tag Firearms, it'd be one of us at the top every time, almost without question. It'd be one of us three. Now there's about four guys that have gotten real good real quick. Well, not real quick, about a year in. But there's about seven of us now where you don't get too many mess ups and you're never going to catch up for that match. Now that's the cool thing about it though, is especially during the summer when it's nice out, we've been having 2 matches a month since May, maybe a little earlier. So what I would say to people that are newer to it, just go and have fun. If you take, especially for our kind of group, and a lot of the local groups are going to be similar. They're going to be a lot of friendly guys. They'll be excited to see you as a new person. We've done things like rigged together a whole belt, pistol, and competition setup out of parts out of all of our cars to get a guy shooting. Like, they'll be happy to see you. This is more of a fun thing. But as far as getting stressed out when you're in competition, A, just have fun, but B, a lot of it's up here.
Okay,
Chill out a
right
little
on.
bit, come up with a stage plan. So stage plans in competition shooting are something that you get to do specifically in PCSL and USPSA. So
Yeah.
they'll say, this is the stage, you have to engage these targets, and usually you get a lot of free reign to do whatever you want, right? You can engage all these targets in whatever order. Maybe you have to engage them from a certain position, but you can start wherever you want and go wherever you want. So my advice would be to look at the guys that have done it quite a bit and look what they're doing during that stage planning process, and then maybe shoot after them, or if you shoot before them, but watch what those guys do, right? There'll be a
Yeah.
reason why they shoot things a certain way. So, like, are you familiar with the El Presidente drill? It's an older one.
No, I'm not. I mean, this is like competition shooting is so new to me and stuff, and that's something I want to get into eventually. But hey, I'm a sponge for knowledge, man. So you can go ahead and lay it on me.
Yeah. So the example, like just an easier example that I give for like watching somebody experience do it, because this just clicked for me one day, like a couple years ago. So El Presidente that's more of a tactical old school drill, but it gets used a lot still. So it's going to be
Okay.
3 targets. We're going to engage two, 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 reload, and then engage 2 rounds on each again, right? And I'm fairly quick, but I used to go two, 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 reload, two, 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 right? That makes
Right.
sense. I watched some good guys do it, and they go two, 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 reload, two, 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 and they're saving sometimes 4 or 5, half a second, 4/10, 0.5 seconds, half a second on that time, because they're not swinging back over to number one, one, two, three, one, two, three.
Right.
They're one, two, three, three, two, one. So it's little
Wow.
things like that, because especially you'll kind of find out where you're at in the pack of guys that you shoot with, and that's okay. Not like we're if everybody was world champions, this wouldn't be any fun. But once you find out where you're at, like the 4 or 5 guys that you shoot close with,
Right.
there'll be tenths of a second between you sometimes. And
Wow.
especially if you do it a lot, you guys will know that, like, this last match we had myself, Matt, and James, the 3 of us that usually do really, really good. I think we were first, second, and third at the final stage. Like, I think Matt was first, I was second, and he was third. And all 3 of us, we saw the checkered flag, and threw it way too hard and way too fast at this last stage. All of us took misses and dropped back down into the like third, fourth, and fifth area. Like, ugh,
Oh man.
don't like that. So as far as like things that get you off track when you're doing competition shooting, it's you.
Okay.
It's like you'll start. My one of my old instructors used to call it overdriving your headlights.
Oh.
And what that means is, and you have to shoot enough to get kind of an experience for what that is. Matt calls it where the wheels fall off. So a
Right.
good example is shooting doubles or shooting bill drills or things like that. If we're going to say we're going to shoot a bill drill first, just because I do a bunch of them because they're fun and they're my favorite drill, and I can kind of do them fast. So a bill drill is at 7 yards. I'm going to draw, fire 6 rounds. I want them all in that A zone. It's about
Okay.
yay. Okay. And if I'm going by the par time, I have about 2 seconds to do it. So from the holster, 6 rounds, under 2 seconds. So it's pretty
Oh,
quick.
nice.
The par time for that drill is very fast. So if you've never shot it before, you're not going to shoot it clean in under 2 seconds the first time. It's not a realistic goal. So when we tell people that's the par time for like competition and professional shooters, right? So when you start, the first thing I'm going to have you do is nice and easy, come out of the holster and give me 6 rounds that stay in there.
Okay.
Okay. And especially for people that haven't shot aggressively and fast, that seems easy, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're aiming at a target this big at 7 yards. It's not hard to hit. All right, now we're going to pick it up a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, starting to spread out a little bit. So what we'll do is we'll find out where the wheels fall off. I'll have you keep going faster until you can't keep it in the box anymore. And right
Okay.
at that speed, we're going to dial it back a little bit, and that is about the max speed that you should be going during actual competitions or during, say, a defensive scenario. And
Wow.
that's kind of a gray area to talk about, but what that means is that is right where the wheels fall off. A little slower than that is the maximum speed that you can go, that you know that you can shoot fast enough and keep stuff in the A zone or in the upper thoracic cavity, because that's why the scoring zones look like that.
Wow. Hey, right there, that information alone, that's a lot. You know what I'm saying? And that's something to really make people think about and stuff. Even now, when you were talking about that, I felt like, oh snap, that's something I need to work on. You know what I'm saying? Like just to
Mm-hmm.
get that drill in. I mean, being
Yeah.
that would make me more of a
Well,
proficient shooter.
and what's cool? It's kind of like the gym, right?
Hmm.
It never gets easier. So like lifting weights never gets easier if you're doing it right. It just gets
Right.
heavier, right?
Right.
So if you're doing bill drills and you're ripping out, real good clean ones, okay? Well, they're all perfectly clean. Go faster. Or,
Right.
if you're in I think the fastest clean one I've ever shot it's actually last Sunday. It was 156, and I was just having a good day. I don't think I can do that consistently. You just be in the groove sometimes, but anything
Yeah.
under or anything under 2 seconds, you don't really need to chase speed after that, except to talk shit to your buddies. That's the only reason we do it anymore. But
Oh
yeah, once
wow,
you get
man.
that sub 2 seconds, try to go faster, make the target further away, um, add things that make it more difficult for you. But a lot of people kind of want to walk or run before they walk. So we also don't do like CQB type training, and we get asked about that pretty consistently. Have I had a little bit of experience and had some training on it? A little bit. Has the other two? Probably more than me. Yeah, but none of us have been in a capacity that we would feel comfortable teaching that as like a marketable thing that you take out as in your skill set. Like,
Oh wow.
could I walk you through the basics of it? Sure, but I'm not that guy. There's guys that I know that I could send you to, but I think it's also really important for us to play to the strengths that we're good at when we share information with people.
Yeah.
Like, for example, how's this platform do with firearms on screen?
It's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine.
Okay.
You're good.
So normally I run something like this, right? 2011 double stack 1911 of some kind. Very familiar with this and the Glock pistol platform, right?
Okay.
I know a lot about running these pistols. I know a lot about modifying them. Uh, and between the three of us, we know a lot about modifying semi pistols. Now, I have been strongly hankering for an old man gun. Like, I don't know, since I turned 30, I don't know what happened. But I picked up this bad little bitty
Oh,
the other
nice.
day.
You can't go wrong with that.
And yeah, this is a 1997 Model 15 K38 masterpiece from Smith, or combat masterpiece. Um,
Okay.
in true fashion, I cannot leave stuff alone. So this is going to get an optic mounted on it, a Wilson Combat trigger job, but I'm going to try to keep the old school grips with the black insert.
Okay.
But I don't know anything about doing trigger jobs on a revolver. So I know, I mean, the cool thing about getting into one of these communities is everybody has their niche thing, right? I know a guy
Right.
who loves revolvers, and he could probably do that trigger job in 5 minutes with his eyes closed. So I'm going to go
Wow,
hit him up
man.
tomorrow if my parts get here.
Hey, my next question is.
But yeah, kind of. Oh, yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
I'm sorry. One of my next question is. I mean, is there any like competition shooter that you look up to right now?
There's a couple. On the smaller stage, my buddy Matt here in
Okay.
Bismarck that owns Frontier with us, he is a phenomenal shooter. He has a lot of insight, highly intelligent individual, a very technical guy as far as if you have questions about pistols and things, but also humble enough to ask other people, when he doesn't know the answer. Um, the other co-owner Alex is probably one that I look up to as well, because Alex is a bit older than the other two of us. Alex taught me my first very professional, organized instructor class like
Okay.
8 years ago, and
Wow.
So I became an instructor through him, and then we ended up working together now. We own that company together. And just getting to grow and start doing things like competition with him has been a great journey. On the more national scale, Hunter Constantine is both a phenomenal shooter and just like a fun to be around guy. Good guy to
Okay.
BS with and shoot with. We had him up here for a class for Frontier in August. Him and his friend Dylan, I believe it's Bensky. I'm probably saying his last name wrong, but both Dylan and Hunter were a blast to be around. They made the day fun. I think we shot around 1,000 rounds in 8-9 hours. It was a blast.
Damn.
I learned a lot from them. A couple others, I really look up to Ben Stager, which is it's kind of a controversial figure. If you're newer to this and you like the T, he's usually at the center of a lot of the national stage competition shooter drama, and I kind of love it. But he's also he's probably one of the top 5 best pistol shooters in the world. It's that guy's
Oh,
a
wow.
savant.
Wow, man.
But also he's hilarious. If you want to just listen to YouTube rants, he's the guy.
I think I'm about to check it out because I love to hear guys just G off for no apparent reason, and I love it, man. I really do.
And he's also it's not like it's nobody talking. It'd be like if Elon made rants about rockets, right?
Right.
Like they're rants, but it's an aerospace guy talking about it.
Okay.
Another cool thing that he does, not affiliated or not affiliated with them or paid by them, but Ben, if you see this,
Shout outs.
yeah. Ben usually posts his full-length classes on his YouTube. So
Okay.
if you don't have the money to take a Ben Stager class and you want at least the visible and auditory experience of taking the class, you can watch the whole class for free on his YouTube.
Man, this is
which
a first.
a lot more than most people do. Yeah.
If y'all hearing this guy's dropping knowledge. Blake is giving y'all some free information right now, so take it while y'all can. So another quick question for you.
Oh yeah, that guy's a god level shooter. I listen to his stuff all the time.
So my next question for you is, how do you feel about open carry?
There are a few scenarios in which open carry might be the answer. Very few of them are something that we're probably going to experience. So for the most part, open carry is not something that I would recommend for a couple reasons. One, part of the reason we carry concealed is to maintain some element of surprise if we do have the unfortunate circumstance of coming into a dangerous situation, right? Another reason is that, especially the last few years, firearms make probably a good 40-50% of people uncomfortable if they don't have the exposure to them. And making that impression in public is not how we win hearts and minds over to the firearms community. And
Okay.
this should be a community that we really want to build up and get more people into, right? It's kind of the same reason that we did that competition shooting stuff that we started. It's a little more friendly to newer people.
Right.
And it's not to say USPSA isn't. There's just a lot of rules, regulations, things that you're not going to know, and they're not super friendly about budging on it if you don't know, right?
Right.
But the same thing, like, we want people to feel welcome. We don't want to make people feel uncomfortable. So kind of like, I'm sure all of you have heard this from a boss or a teacher or something at some point, but very similar. When you go out into the community carrying a firearm, you are representing all of us.
Right.
So
most definitely.
Don't be the guy that ends up on the meme pages for whatever reason, right?
Yeah. So my next question
try
is,
your best to look like, you got some training, you know what you're doing.
Right. So my next question is, do you believe an armed society is a civil society?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, there's a lot of people that would like to say that violence is never the answer. And it should definitely not be the first answer. I would agree that it should never be your first answer to most things, right? But if we were to crack open a history book going back pretty much as far as history books go, that's pretty much the way that most major conflicts have been solved throughout history, is with some level of violence, right? If we look at more modern history, if we look at every country that has confiscated firearms from its populace, like if the government has confiscated firearms from its populace, pretty shortly after that, some horrendous things have happened to the population of that country. And there are several examples of it.
I mean, look at England and Australia, for example.
Mm-hmm. Well, look at the Native American communities here in the United States, Germany, Italy, Russia. I mean, there is a reason that all of those places did not want the common folk or the undesirables to have access to firearms, right?
Right, exactly.
So it is a lot easier for people to force you to do things that you don't want to do and be tyrants when you have no way to defend yourself or no equivalent level of force to bring to bear if they do so.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of the arguments going on about, whether, I mean, it seems like more now it's just guns should be banned is what you hear on a lot of the more left-leaning platforms. It's just flat out banned. Well, there are about double the guns that there are people, a little more guns than there are people in the United States, right? So the cat's out of the bag, where we are way, way, way past that. So they say guns are banned tomorrow. Okay. There might be 400,000 law enforcement agents total in the United States, and I think that's too many. I can't remember quite what it is, but we'll say that that's the number. There are 700 million firearms or something like that in the U.S., I believe. Maybe more, maybe less.
I think it's more.
Around that. So how exactly are they going to get those back? Say that they got what they wanted, guns are banned tomorrow, right? First of all, I'm going to say that hopefully a good 70% of people that own guns are not going to comply with that. So you kind of find yourself at an impasse. This is that armed society, polite society thing, right? They can leave everybody, like especially if it's most of the country, they can leave everybody that has guns alone. Or they can bring guns to your house and see what happens. We know, right? And hopefully that's not ever the way that it goes. But that's the problem, is that even if that's something that you believe personally, I think you're wrong, because you don't have to be a genius to realize that you don't want to be the only one without that ability to defend yourself, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
This is also not me down-talking law enforcement, but if you have had the opportunity to share a range with a lot of law enforcement officers, the large majority of them aren't gun guys. They have had the training their department provides and do the minimum qualifications, and that's about it. Now, I would say most of them are grossly underpaid. They don't probably have the motivation to do a lot of that outside of work unless they're like us and they're just nerds. And there are those guys. Right. But they're doing that out of their own pocket and on their own time, right?
Exactly.
The more common version of it is that they are passing the bare minimum and that's it. So the fact that people say only the government should have guns, it's just not, it's not realistic, right? Where the most skilled shooters are probably like dentists, file clerks. Like if we're looking at the people that are like really the world's most skilled shooters.
Right.
So this is, I actually asked my buddy Matt so I could tell you this. We talk about the classes in competition shooting.
No, you never told me about that,
classifications.
No,
so
there are
there's Delta, which is just starting out. You know, I think they either there's like a novice class too, but basically you're new, right? You don't have a rank, so you're either unclass or Delta till you get some scores in there, right? Charlie, Charlie sounds like it's pretty low on the totem pole, but if you were a Charlie class shooter, you were in the top 1% of shooters in the United States.
Oh, wow.
Okay? And Charlie is very achievable. If you're doing competitions and somebody can look your name up on practice score, you are doing more than 99% of people that own guns, right?
That is
So
crazy.
and then after Charlie, there's B class, A class, Master class, and then Grandmaster class. So Grandmaster class is like the Hunters and Ben Stagers that I told you about earlier.
Yeah.
There are, man, what do you say? Not very many. I'm probably wrong on this. I think there's like maybe 3,000 in the United States. I think it's I think it's 300 in the United States. There are 300 or 400 Grandmaster shooters, right?
Wow.
It is a very high bar to set. Like, it's kind of the joke with us because we're all, or the top 5 or 6, because we're all pretty good, right? But we're not Grandmaster shooters. So we'll do, they have these stages called classifiers that are like universal. It's kind of like Olympic weightlifting. It's
Okay.
universal. Everything's set up the same, so you shoot it, and then you can get your time and score and look at what the national standard is like for each class, right?
Right.
So the joke for us is, like, we'll run that drill. All right, what was the GM time? 10 seconds faster than yours, buddy boy. So pick it up.
Oh, wow. That's so
But
crazy, man.
yeah, I say that to say, so if you're a C class shooter, which is, it's not, none of the classes are a bad thing. If you're a novice, D class, C, B, A, M, GM, whatever. If you are the lowest or the newest class, if you're novice class, you are still doing more than 99% of gun owners out there.
Oh,
And
wow.
that's probably one of the best things for people that, and I'll say this because I know myself, before I started really getting into actually training, getting some real professional training for myself, and then a few years later offering some of the same stuff, we all do it too. I probably still do it to this day, and then I get to go try something out. I'm like, oh, maybe not. We all overestimate our abilities a little bit, right? Well,
Right.
if this happened, I would do this. Well, one of the things that we started doing, and one of the things that's important to me, both looking for other instructors and if we're going to teach something, I think I learned this from Eric Kangas as well, or Henry from QTAC Customs down south. But the general consensus is skills on demand, right? If you have a resume this long, but you can't shoot the basics of a drill, I don't know if you're the guy to teach, right?
Right.
But if you have little to no resume, but you're ripping out like .13 splits, or you're, a master class or grand master class shooter, but you don't have any of the fancy certifications, you'll probably listen to that guy a little more because he's demonstrating that performance. That's not to say
Right.
certifications are a bad thing, but having been through a lot of these classes to get some of these certifications, there are people passing them that are barely passing them. It's kind of like med school, right? There's, there's the top 5 guys in the medical class. Well, there's
Right.
sure as shit the bottom 5 guys too, right? They
Wow.
just don't post that in the graduation letter. So that's just, I would say, something to look out for. Is just because somebody has a lot of a lot of resume to write down does not mean that they're necessarily great. It doesn't mean that they're bad either. But I
Right.
like to see both a resume of some kind and some demonstration of skills on demand. Right?
Oh,
I'm not
wow,
going to
man.
teach you a drill that I can't do myself.
Right.
And I say that, and I don't mean that every time you shoot a drill, like I think two of the GMs that I've had the opportunity to shoot with, I've seen them, throw around. Everybody does, especially when you're running that speed. So that's not to say that if somebody demonstrates a drill to you and it's not 100% perfect every time,
Right.
that they don't know what they're doing, but they should look pretty well tuned, right?
Yeah.
And if they
Definitely.
don't, it's I'm gonna, if Matt or Alex sees this, I'm gonna catch some shit for saying this, but one of my big ones that I like to think about is DJ Shipley has one that he was told when he was in training. I can't remember when. He's one of the DevGru SEAL team guys. I had the opportunity to meet him in January. He's actually a
Oh
super
wow.
nice guy. Giant. Well, I say giant. If you didn't know this, I'm like 5'3".
For
So
real?
he's like, yeah, he's like that much taller than me. The picture's hilarious because he's a big dude, like big arms, tall guy, big guy. But one of the things that he was told when he was younger is be a pro, look like a pro, act like a pro. When you walk into a room and you're the like for my example, when you walk into a room and you're the instructor or you're the guy, you better be exactly what those people are expecting you to be.
Right, exactly. That makes a lot of sense, though. It does. But here's my last question for the night, and for the viewers. If you
Yeah,
can give one piece of...
I'm talking too much. Yeah.
No, no, man, you're good, man. Look, I'm enjoying the conversation, man. Look, I definitely am. I love the show. It's my own show. I should love it. But the thing is, though, I love the conversation. This is what the community needs, you know what I'm saying? Conversations like this, you know what I'm
I
saying?
agree.
Community and dialogue is such an important thing, especially for people that want to get into shooting and or want to do competition shooting, you know what I'm saying? And I like to put out
Yeah.
content like this. But here's my last question. If there's one piece of advice you would give to anybody that wants to think about competing, what would it be?
Get on Practice Score and practicescore.com and look up local matches in your area. A lot of people
All
don't
right.
know about the website, but it's where we post all the scores, right? So
Mm-hmm.
if you go on there right now and you type in Frontier, we got a little dumb with typing them in. We didn't name them all the same thing. But if you type Frontier in there, all of our matches will come up. You can see all the scores. You can see where the matches were held. There's also a section on that website where you can get on and see, especially if you guys live in bigger areas, but every state has one.
Okay.
Well, probably 48 states have them. There's a couple suspect states that maybe don't, but I'll let you guess which ones those are. But find something in your area, and if you want to get into competition shooting and you haven't done it before, everybody wants to run right to equipment, right? Like this is a kind of neat, fancy little custom platypus
Right.
double stack 1911 that I had made, right? Don't jump right to equipment. I have some of my best records and some of my best performances I did with a Glock that I got for like $300 and did a little work too, right? Some of my best shooting has been done with that, and I still haven't broken it with I've had a Staccato and this platypus, and the two $3,000 pistols haven't broken the Glock records because I was more familiar with it. So don't jump right to equipment. I really want you to focus on, we said community earlier, right?
Right.
Get to know your local shooting community. Get to know who does what, who's good at what, who knows a lot about what, and just start soaking up that information. You don't have to go to a grandmaster to start learning about this stuff. And a lot of us, myself included, a lot of the guys included, we're a pretty small community, even statewide. Like we have guys, we started Frontier Group as like just dudes being bros, right? And there are
Right.
guys 200-300 miles away that have driven to come shoot with us. We had a national champion come shoot with us a couple times.
Oh, that's definitely
He
dope, man.
smoked. Yeah, he smoked us, by the way, if you were curious. He's actually come a couple more times, but he's a super nice dude. But before you get too crazy into the equipment or whatever, get to know your community and get to know those guys. Find out what you're interested in, right? Maybe it's not
Right.
like PCSL and USPSA are a lot of focus on pistol shooting, maybe some 3-gun stuff, so pistol, rifle, shotgun. But maybe you're interested in precision rifle shooting with PRS matches, right?
Yeah.
So the Tag Firearms guys, they are very interested in precision rifle shooting. I'm more of a carbine and pistol guy. There's
Okay.
guys that are really into clay pigeon shooting, shotgun shooting, skeet, right? We have, because we've built that community here, we have a guy for all. So if somebody comes and says, hey, who do you know that does like clay shooting, or where can I get a good clay shotgun? I'm like, oh, Daryl, Double H. Who does concealed carry licenses and pistol stuff? We do, and then Personal Defense Center here in Bismarck, they do. Who does the Gucciest of the Gucci cool shit that you see on the internet? That's the Tag Boys. You want night vision, and we're fortunate enough to be buddies with them because we get to try out some awesome stuff. But yeah, you want, the custom Vulcans, the 2011s, the Nighthawks, whatever. If that's your stuff, excuse me, those are the guys to go to. But you're not going to know that thing and have those connections without that community, right? And that starts
Right,
by just
exactly.
going and asking questions, be friendly. Everybody is going to be excited to have you there if you're a new face, because I guarantee you all those competition guys that are local, they all know each other.
Oh,
Like,
wow.
if it's a small area like us, we're about 100,000 people, if or even probably in the state of North Dakota, there's about 20 guys all over the state that if all of us show up at the same matches in Bismarck, Fargo, Minot, whatever, the top 10 or 12 scoring guys are going to be the same guys every single time. And
Man.
like, that's what I mean. It's a bit like, and we're a fairly large state. We're not huge with state population. I think we're a little shy of 800,000. But the competition shooting or training, even just the training community, we're small enough that we know about each other 300 miles that way or that way, right?
Wow.
And it's so once you get into that community and get to know some guys, you'll just make more and more connections. You'll learn things. You'll figure out, okay, well, I want to learn about shooting targets 800 yards away. That's the guy. I want to
Right.
learn how to get a holster or get a pistol out of a holster and put 6 rounds in or downrange in a second and a half and hit my target. That's the guy. So my advice for people getting into it would be find out what you're interested in, find out where they're holding these events, and then go check one out. I mean,
Damn.
you don't even have to shoot in it if you're just interested in it. Just go check one
Yeah.
out. Watch.
Because, I mean, my whole premise is like, I told myself in 2026 that I was going to go travel in the U.S., go visit some TikTokers, some people I already interviewed here on my podcast. Like, you're on the list, definitely. I got to come down
Yeah.
and come shoot, man. I'm going to have to bring all my toys with me. It's going to be expensive, but I don't care. I'm going to have a blast. But look, man,
Awesome.
I appreciate your knowledge that you dropped on my show. I appreciate you so much, Blake, man. Man, it was from the bottom of my heart. Thank you so much, man. And everybody, if you're watching this show, go follow Blake. He's really easy to find on TikTok, man. Just hit him up, man. He will answer some questions for you. But like I always say, like I always do, peace, love, and chicken grease. I'm out of here. Peace.